So I imagine they start saying names and people just start breaking down.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. And when you didn't hear your name, I didn't hear Rick's name. I thought, oh, okay, maybe we've got a shot. Maybe something can happen. Maybe they'll get them out. Because up until Friday, I was given hope, but they kept telling me, well, there's 4 people we haven't found. There's 4 people we haven't identified.
Welcome to Creepalachia. I have who I consider a good friend in the studio. I haven't seen you since we recorded last time, but Kim Lane is in the studio and is going to share her experience with me again in full. It's going to be a somber conversation, but an important one about Richard, who unfortunately passed in the UBB explosion. So Thank you for being here.
Thank you, JD.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you. So let's start with you first. Let's give some backstory on people. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Beckley. I graduated from Woodrow Wilson High School in 1982, and then I went on to college at Radford University, and I was a Beckley girl.
Awesome. How'd you like it? What'd you do growing up?
Oh, well, my father, we kept a house at Flat Top Lake, and we would move there in the summers, and I grew up over on Woodlawn Avenue. I had great friends. It was a good time growing up back in the 70s and the 80s, much better than now. But I had a great childhood. I had one sister, and both my parents have passed, but I've got one sister, and it was a great childhood. I had a wonderful childhood.
Yeah. Where does your sister live?
She lives in Mount Hope.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So still close.
Every day. And she's actually going to pick up my grandson today from school for me.
Oh, nice.
Yes, she helps me a lot.
Well, thank you, sis.
Yeah.
And beautiful fall day. So I hope you all are enjoying the foliage.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The sunset last night was really pretty too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, so walk me through the early days of how you and Richard first, and you call him Rick.
I call him Rick.
Yeah.
Yes, I call him Rick.
So how did you all first meet?
I had graduated from college in 1985, and he was a shady boy. He and I never knew each other through school. And we've had a mutual friend. One of my friends was dating one of his friends. So they kind of got us together. We met up at a bar one night. It was fine. It was, it was nothing, no sparks or anything that particular night. But the next day we had all planned to go to Stevens Lake with my friend Lisa Martin and one of his friends that she was dating at the time. And we went on a boat on Stevens Lake that day. And that's when we really started to talk and started to get to know each other. So from that day forward, we were exclusive. Mm-hmm. That was it. And it was like September of 1985. And we got engaged in December of 1985. And we were married in July of 86.
Oh, nice.
It was a whirlwind.
Good things happen in 85. I was born a month before y'all met.
There you go.
That's great. So what did y'all like to do together back then?
Oh, back then he worked. He was a definite workaholic, but we spent a lot of time with our families. I spent a lot of time with his mom and dad. He spent a lot of time with my dad, and we were just kind of like homebodies. We would go and, of course, run around, do the fun things teenagers do. But then after we got married, we both were focused on our careers. I was teaching dancing for dance theater school, and which I dearly love, and love Jerry and Sherry Rose, and Heather Rose Zickafus is still one of my very best friends. So I was teaching at the dance studio, and he worked at Massey Mine Reclamation, and we just worked all the time. And we were married for over a year before, unexpectedly, my son decided to say hello in 1988. He was born August the 9th of 1988. So we had a few years by ourselves.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. What's it like being a coal miner's wife? Which I was a coal miner I was above ground, and I know how it sometimes made me not the happiest person. I mean, I love the people I worked with, but it's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And the worst part was, 1 week you're on day shifts, 1 week you're on evening shift, 1 week you're on night shift. It was just like sometimes he would swing. But when he first started in the mines again, back, I don't even remember what year it was, he was working for Bluestone Coal. So he was working down in McDowell County, which was a drive.
Mm-hmm.
And so he did that when he first started, was down there. Then he got laid off. And then that's when he ended up going to speed mining.
Mm-hmm.
So he was at speed mining before he ever went to Massey. And he was down there for, I'm going to say at least 4 or 5 years. And it was hard. And of course, I got one phone call down at speed mining. They had called me. And at that time, I was teaching at adult education in public schools. I was teaching GED classes. And then in 2006, I had went to adult education and I was all over with RISA. It's not RISA anymore, but that's what I did for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a phone call and he had a big rock fall. There was a rock fall and I got the phone call and I just, of course, pictured the worst. So I have to go down to speed mining, get on the property and pick him up. And I was going to take him straight to the hospital. He wouldn't let me. He said, I'm fine. It just hit his hard hat, knocked him in the back. He was sore. But to me, that was like the worst one at the time because that was the phone call you never want to get. You never want to get those phone calls. There's been an accident or something's happened. But that was the only other one other than until that dreaded day of April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was tough. But he loved it. I mean, it wasn't hard for him because he absolutely loved his job. He loved being a coal miner. He started out as a roof bolter. He was in like 46-inch coal at one point, really low coal. But even at the worst, he still liked doing it.
Yeah.
And he always told me he did. So, he liked being underground. He didn't mind that ever.
Mm-hmm.
He loved the guys he worked with. And then once he got his bossing papers and he went through all the classes and did all that, he really, really loved that.
Gotcha. And you said with Massey, was he above ground then?
No.
He's always
been underground.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, like you mentioned, he eventually became a boss.
Yes.
Where was that? Was that at Speed?
Well, he started at Speed when he was on Speed, and they had the long wall at Speed when Chris Klein had it. And I think it was a transition. He was going through the bossing classes there, and I think that's when he was transitioning over and they made him the offer to come to Revolution was the first mine he went to at Massey. And they had the long wall. That's where the long wall was, and that's what he did. That's basically where he was the boss all the time was the long wall.
Mm-hmm. And he's a pretty good boss.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
And well, yes and no, because now if I look back, this is the kind of boss he was. The day before he died was Easter Sunday. We've talked about that. And he was going to take off Monday, that April 5th, he was going to take off. He called to the mines, couldn't get anybody to answer. And I said, well, just call somebody else, just take the day off. And he looked at me, and this is what makes me tell you about him being a boss and caring about his guys and his coworkers. He's like, no, he said, I don't want to do that to those guys. He says, I'd have to put Grover would have to step in, and I didn't give anybody notice, and I'm not going to do that to him. And he would never, ever do anything. He would never ask any of his guys to do anything he wouldn't do himself, ever. And so he just went into work. Hindsight 2020, should have called off.
Sure.
But you never know. I mean, I know that God had a plan, and this is the way it was supposed to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, very, very sad. So walk me through, I guess let's go ahead and tell me how he was as a father first. and eventually grandfather.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
As a father, he was pretty tough on our son. of course, there's a lot of times they didn't see eye to eye, but he was a good dad. He was a good husband. He was a good provider, and he would always help. My dad was Jim Parker. He was a barber. He was a real estate appraiser, and he was a football and basketball referee. So my dad had a lot of irons in the fire. So there was everything he needed done. He couldn't get done. He would call Rick because he had 2 girls. And you can tell I'm not the kind of girl to get out and cut trees or kind of do anything manual labor.
Right.
Was never up my bag. But he would always help my dad. He would always help anybody, his parents. He always, he was always trying to be helpful to whoever needed it. He would, loan them equipment, anything they needed. So he was tough on Robbie sometimes. And the older he got, and when Robbie started showing more interest in animals, then he started doing the FFA, just like Rick was at the FFA in Shady. So Robbie got into that. And now my grandson is in the FFA.
Oh, nice.
At Shady. So there's 3. And Brody tried on his grandfather's FFA jacket, and we were trying to figure that up yesterday. That jacket's 42 years old.
Wow.
And he wore it one day last year, and he was so proud of that, and it fits him perfect.
That's
so
great.
he was happy.
Is that Firefighters Association or what is FFA?
FFA is Future Farmers of America.
Okay, gotcha.
FFA.
I was totally off.
No, that is something that Shady has, and that's what Rick did. That's what Robbie did. That's what they graduated doing, and they have a VOAG degree, vocational agriculture degree.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and now Brody is in it too.
That's great. And how old is Brody now?
Turned 16.
Wow.
Yes.
Man, that's crazy.
Because he was 9 months old.
Yeah.
9 months old when Rick died.
Yeah. So I guess let's walk into that Easter Sunday first. How did that day go?
The whole weekend was great. I worked on Friday, and I was teaching adult education spokes classes down in Hinton in Summers County. So I went to work on Friday, and Rick had the weekend off. And these are weekends you never get off, but it was Easter weekend, so they were off. And so I got home, and my son and his wife and Brody were looking at buying some property down at Odd. So that Friday, as soon as I got home from Hinton, we got in my car, we met them down at Odd, and we drove this property because Robbie was so excited about getting it. And looked at it, and my dad, being a real estate appraiser, he was already ready for helping Robbie get it. So we got home after looking at it. It was great, and he was all excited, and that's where they were going to be, was Odd. And it was a beautiful piece of property. So then Saturday, we, just did our normal stuff around the farm. We stayed at home. We ended up getting Brody Saturday night. This is the first time he had ever spent the night with us at 9 months old, because he was a premature baby. He was 1 pound 6 ounces, born at 25 weeks. Rick and I have always we've considered him our miracle baby. And today he does have mild cerebral palsy, but nobody would know it.
Mm-hmm.
He's thrived, and he's a great kid, absolutely great kid. So we kept him that Saturday night, overnight for the first time ever. And we all decided we were all going to church Sunday morning. We all went to church down at Camp Creek Community Church. Mm-hmm. And we all walked in that Sunday morning. I was getting ready for church Sunday morning, and Rick had the baby in our bedroom, just laying and holding him up and just adoring him, and like being that doting grandfather. Mm-hmm. And I knew then, I said, and we had already talked about it. He said, I'm going to do better with this one, because he, was always gone with Robbie. He was not home very much. He said he wanted to change the pattern with Brody. Mm-hmm. So we kept him, and in church, we were all in church Sunday morning, and everybody wanted the baby, to hold the baby. Not that day. He would not he held Brody the whole time in church, kept him quiet. He was perfect, little angel, and nobody got to hold him because Rick had him the whole time. So after that, we went out as a family. We all went out to dinner. I think we went to Ryan's for lunch after that. And then they went home. We went home. We decided we were going to go back out. He was going to buy me a front porch furniture set. We went over to Kmart because I saw one I really liked. Went over there, took his truck, got the furniture, came home. That's when we got home and he said, I think I'm going to call in tomorrow. I still have a lot of things I'd like to get done around the farm. And I was like, okay. And that's when he tried to call. No answer. And then I said, why don't you just call somebody else? Nah, I guess I'll just go on in. So I usually, with him, I was always up with him every morning. So that April 5th, Monday morning, I'd woke up at 3:30 and usually he would get up at 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I got up at 3:30, went down, packed his lunch like I always did, got his mining clothes out, laid him on the end of the bed, just like I always did. And I know that was probably crazy of me, but I did that every day. And because I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to be in Hinton until 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. So
on that particular day, I got up earlier for some reason and packed his lunch, and he left around 4:15, 4:30 that morning. And I had already came back upstairs and went to bed, kissed me goodbye, said I loved you like we always did every day. Said, I'll see you this evening. He said, oh, by the way, don't forget, we're going to go over and get our taxes done this evening, April 5th. Okay. We're going to get our taxes done. I said, okay, I'll be home. I'll be waiting on you. I'll go ahead and have dinner cooked when you get here. And then we'll go over, and guy that used to do our taxes, his name was Bob Rose. He was the best. Still is, but he's retired. God bless his soul. He was a great guy.
And tax season was awesome time for most people, because it was like, even though it's a loan to the government, but still, you get a few $1,000.
Most of the time, we used to get tax. We got a little bit back, but with both of us working, we tried to average it out pretty decent. It wasn't great, but we always tried to wait till right before the 15th to get them done. Not too much closer than that, just because you never know if you have to pay. You got to make sure you have to be able to be prepared.
Yep.
So that's what our plan was. So the whole day went through. He left. I drove to Hinton, taught my classes. Everything was a normal day, typically normal. So I got home. I usually got off. I think I got off work around 3 o'clock, 3 or 3:30. I think it was 3 o'clock. So I drove home, and I got home between 3:30 and 3:45. And it's crazy how I can remember these particular times on this day. Mm-hmm. It's kind of eerie. But I got home. I started to cook dinner. And usually he would call me once he got up. Of course, down on Route 3, cell phone service was never great.
Yeah.
So he would usually call me once he got up towards Liberty, coming up that way. Once he got service, he'd call and say, okay, I'm here. I'll be there. Give me 20, 30 minutes. I'll be home. Okay, perfect. And I was just going to go ahead, and I'll never forget what we were going to have that night. I had made some Chinese, like rice, noodles. I was making all that stuff in the skillet. I was doing all that so I could keep it warm. It would be fine. We could eat quickly and go to the taxes. So then probably I'm going to say it was probably after 4 o'clock. I'm going to roughly say 4:15. I got a phone call from Rick's dad, and he always had a scanner and stuff. They always listened to stuff like that down at his house. Mm-hmm. Now, Rick's mom had passed the year before. She passed away in 2008. So Rick's dad and he only lived half a mile down the road from us because the whole family was down there.
Right.
So he called me and said, have you heard from Rick? And I'm like, no, not yet. And I said, it's really not time, because they were going to be giving out from underground, and he had to get cleaned up a little bit before he came home and before he would get in his truck. Mm-hmm. And that particular day, he ended up driving his good truck, because he had a work car. It was a little Pontiac. No, it was a Buick. And he had a big Dodge 2500 2-seater truck. He ended up driving that because when we went to Odd that Friday, we had my little Honda CRV. Mm-hmm. I got a flat tire.
Oh.
So that Sunday, we couldn't get it fixed. And he said, I'll drive the truck, you drive the work car, and we'll get your tire fixed this week. I was like, okay, we had it covered. It was not a problem. So that day, I was driving his work car and we were going to go and everything was going to be fine. And then his dad said, I just heard something on the scanner that just kind of made me uneasy. I'm like, I'll let you know when I hear from him. It'll be fine. It wasn't 15 minutes later, another guy that worked with Rick at Speed Mining, that still worked at Speed Mining, his name was Denny McMillan, and Rick had worked with him and they had went to school together. They had wrestled together at Shady. Mm-hmm. And Denny calls and said, you heard from Rick? I'm like, no, not yet. So of course, these are triggers for me thinking, what is going on that I don't know about? What's happening here? And he said, no, it's okay. Because I guess they just didn't want to worry me with it not knowing anything. And you're talking 4:30 going on 5 o'clock now. And I probably should have already heard from him by then. And the next thing I know, I saw my son flying up our driveway. I mean, literally flying up the driveway. And I thought, oh my God, something's wrong. And then Rick's dad called back when Robbie was coming up and said, you need to call down to the mines. Because I had the number. I mean, I had the office number because he'd given me every time he had went to any mines, I had the number. Mm-hmm. And said, okay. He said, we just heard something. It doesn't sound good. And I just want to check. I call the number. I tell them who I am. They paused. And it seemed like this pause was an hour long. It wasn't more than a minute or so. And they said, yes, ma'am, you need to come to the training center immediately. I was like, what's wrong? What's going on? We'll explain when you get here. That's all I got. Mm-hmm. Okay. What would you think? I mean, I'm like, okay, what's going on? No, but at that time, nobody knew anything because this had just happened. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I get in. Here comes Robbie. And then we have a 9-month-old baby. And Jessie is there. And she's scared to death. And she's got the baby. And Rick's dad is down the road. And his health was not great. So my cousin, Missy, and her now ex-husband, David and Rick had worked in the mines. Every mine they went to, they worked together. Mm-hmm. They jumped together. It had just so happened that this last time when Rick went to UBB, David went to, I don't remember where he went, Eagles. I don't remember. They were not together. They were separate.
Right.
So if I'm not mistaken, we took Rick's work car. We all got in the car, me, my son, Missy, and David. We drove down to the training center. And that's when I saw all these people. And I'm like, holy Toledo, what is going on here? So I go in, I tell them who I am. They say, go in here, have a seat. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. Have no idea. I had no idea there had been any kind of explosion, any kind of accident. I didn't know what was going on. So then, of course, that's when the people started from, I think his name was Kevin Strickland. Mm-hmm. I think that's his name. He came out and he was trying to talk to people and they were telling, then the lady in the office was saying, there's been an accident. We don't know anything yet. The word explosion was never voiced to me until later. I never even knew that until I think my son had talked to some people when we got down there that he knew. Mm-hmm. And
was you hoping it was just a rock fall?
I was hoping it was just a rock fall. I was hoping it was just maybe they're okay. They're just maybe trapped. Maybe there's just some debris. They've got to get out of the alley or whatever they call that. Just something. Just tell me something. I got nothing. And again, that word explosion wasn't even mentioned to me. There's been an accident. Okay, what kind of accident? So, of course, that we just proceed and I keep hearing stuff and they tell you a little bit here and there. Then I think we stayed down there that night. And then it was like a fog.
Mhm.
From that point on, I can remember everything up to that point, but from that point on, my son probably remembers a whole lot better than I did, but it was like a fog. It's
Yeah.
like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was turning. I didn't know which way to turn, which way to look, where to stand. I was laying on a weight bench one time and I looked up and I'm like, what am I doing here? You know? And we were just waiting on answers. So that was Monday, goes into Tuesday. So I think David and Missy took me home maybe in the middle of the night or something. My son didn't leave. David didn't leave. And then like day 2, I think John Richmond, which was Rick's best friend, came down to stay with the guys. I had to go home. I couldn't deal with it. So I really got into friends. And I'm going to say this. A lot of people disagree with politics or whatever, but Joe Manchin's staff and Joe Manchin himself was so kind to me, and his staff was so kind to me. So I had talked to the lady and I said, I've got to go home. I got to go check on things. Meanwhile, I didn't know things that was going on at my house. My daughter-in-law, the baby, my sister, all of my son's friends, all of my daughter-in-law's friends, they had rallied at my house. Everybody stayed at the house the whole time. Rick's brother, Michael, lives in Charlotte. My sister-in-law, Karen, and Michael came up. They stayed. Michael ended up going to the mines too a couple times. When I got home, my house was full.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, I just want to go to bed. I just need to rest. So I'll go upstairs, take a shower, try to lay down. There's no resting. There's no sleeping because I don't know anything. So I go back the next day, and every time there was an update, they would call me if I wasn't there. Joe Manchin's staff did.
Mhm.
They were so good, so sweet.
Manchin actually had a family member die in the Farmington disaster.
And
Yeah.
they had told me that.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, God bless him, but he really took the families under his wing. And there was no politics during that time.
Yeah.
It was not that at all. It was all just about, let's pray we can get these guys out.
Yeah.
Then of course they were talking about the gases and drilling. All I remember hearing was about the drilling. They're going to drill down here. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, I know my husband well enough to know. Those tents, the rescue tents that they can get to if there's something that happens.
Yep. They have little sections in the mine that they can go to that has air.
That has air and supplies. In my mind, because I'm just the wife. I've never been underground other than the exhibition coal mine, I didn't know what to expect. And I kept thinking, okay, it's going to be fine. But now let me go back.
Sure.
On that night, that first night when we found out that it was bad, and they announced, I think there was the 6 or 7 people that didn't make it out.
Mm-hmm.
When they gathered us all in that area, I can remember Steve Hara. He lived at Cool Ridge, and his wife Tammy. I knew of them. We weren't close friends or anything, but I knew of them. And when they announced the ones that they had found that had died, I just lost it. And that's when I decided I can't do this. And I stayed for a while, and, Betty was there. Steve's other sister, Terry, which is a good friend of mine, Tammy. My heart just broke for that whole entire family. Absolutely broke.
So how many people are in this room?
Oh, I can't even tell you how many people was in this room.
Dozens upon dozens.
There was like a whole, and they had just lines of people everywhere. It was just crazy. To me, there was just more people than I would even know what to do with.
So I imagine they start saying names and people just start breaking down.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. And when you didn't hear your name, I didn't hear Rick's name. I thought, oh, okay, maybe we've got a shot. Maybe something can happen. Maybe they'll get them out. Because up until Friday, I was given hope. I don't know who was feeding me the line of baloney, but they kept telling me, well, there's 4 people we haven't found. There's 4 people we haven't identified. And they told me Rick was one of them. Well, come to find out through your podcast and through the documentary and through the research, they didn't tell me the truth. It was Rick. And I didn't know it until they announced all that last day when they said, we've lost all 29 of the miners.
Yeah.
You know, but I had hope. I just believed in my faith, and I thought if anybody's going to make it out of there, I truly believe that. I just wish I would have known how bad it really was up front. So maybe that I could have prepared myself better, because on that Friday, Robbie had to hold me up. I just collapsed.
They finally called his name.
They just told us that Friday when we were all waiting, they said there were no survivors. No survivors. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then I had to wait again, because when they took me home, Robbie took me home, and they called me Sunday morning at 6 a.m. and told me that my husband's body had been recovered, and that they, wanted to know what funeral home. And I had already my dad had already made arrangements through Dan Calfee, and Dan Calfee is a family friend. He is a good man. So when we have to go over to the funeral home after that Sunday, the phone call, we go over there. I couldn't have anything until Wednesday and Thursday because, of course, it had been a week. The body had decomposed, and I wanted to see his body. But Dan Calfee, being the man he is, knowing my family, wanting to protect me, we didn't. I couldn't. It was just too bad.
Yeah. It's awful.
I know. It was terrible. That was probably the worst week of my whole life.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine.
And everybody helped with the baby, and, 9 months old. And the week that I was going to tell you this, I still have a picture of this, and Brody finally got to see the picture of that Easter Sunday. Rick got home, it was that Saturday when he got him on the tractor when he spent the night with us. Rick had a big cab over Massey Ferguson tractor up on our farm. I got a picture of Brody, 9 months old, 2 days before his grandfather died, riding in his tractor with him. First time.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty awesome picture. And I'm cherish that picture and that memory.
Yeah. We, we kind of take advantage of the fact that now we got phones and we snap. But back then, cell phones were just becoming, cameras were just becoming a thing.
Yeah.
So, those photo albums are cherished possessions, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, it was 2010, but neither one of us were I didn't even start texting until like 2011 or 12, really.
Yeah.
We just called. I mean, and when he was in McDowell County, he had a bag phone. We had bag phones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's all we did. We didn't text. We didn't do anything. We just called. That's it. And we thought that was it then. This is amazing. I get to talk to him on his way home.
Yeah. Well, even now, like when my daughter was a kid, I used to take video and photos all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I made a compilation, and I found out that as she got older, I stopped doing that. And I was like, why am I stopping doing that? I gotta take more photos and videos. So I try to, make an effort to do that. But it's so, I'm sure that photo means a lot.
It does.
To have.
Absolutely, it does. And now that I got to share it, and Brody got to see it more, and he's now getting to the point where he's interested in knowing the facts, because he's 16 now. He's interested in knowing the facts. I told him, he was in West Virginia history in 8th grade. And I told him then, I said, well, just think, bud, your grandfather is going to be in the history books, not in a positive way, but it is part of our heritage, part of our history, and part of, what.
Well, we can't forget it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And, unfortunately, and before this, they had Sago. And
that's crazy, because my cousin and I, Missy, and I during Sago. It was like, what, the year before?
It was 2000. I think, was it 2006? Let me make sure.
That's what I was going to say, because Rick and David were working at the same mine at the time.
Yeah,
Missy and I watched that together, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 4 years later, it happens again. But we remember watching that. And I remember my heart just falling for these families at Sago, thinking, oh my gosh, my heart breaks for them. Poor families. Please, Lord, don't ever let this happen to me. And here 4 years later, it does.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd be in that situation. Never.
Very sad. And, you wouldn't know the truth for a very long time. I mean, there's still a lot of things that nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
But how did you, after you found out, like, okay, he's not here, when did it start to sink in? Like, what did you do to just get day to day?
I just had to. Well, once I just had to get through the funeral. I had to get, the viewing was, Rick and I had gotten married in July 5th of 1986 at the United Methodist Temple where I went to church.
Mm-hmm.
So we had gotten married there. Knowing that this was such a big thing, and I knew that it was going to be overwhelming with people coming, and Calfee's is not a huge funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
I called the church and I asked him, could I have Rick's funeral and viewing at the same place I got married? And of course, open arms, they were wonderful. We got to have him there. Of course, you can never have an open casket with something like this. I knew everything he wanted. He wanted a cherry wood casket. Wood, couldn't do that. Had to have stainless steel because he'd been underground and the body decomposed.
Mm.
Couldn't have an open casket. Couldn't do anything. Like I knew he wanted to have if he ever did pass away, because we had always talked about stuff like that. But because I told him I wanted to be in my tiara, I wanted my foo-foo dresses, and I want my nails and hair done and my makeup done. So, it was just a joke.
Sure.
He was a country boy and I was a little princess. So that's the way it worked for us. But I had his funeral. Once I got through the funeral, I had some really great friends that stayed with me. My friends from college. I had a bunch of my friends from Radford that came up, stayed with me, came to the funeral, came to everything, because they had been here for our wedding. And so they all came. One of my best friends, Alexandra, came up from Florida and stayed with me. After everybody left, Robbie and Jesse and baby Brody stayed with me probably about a month at my house.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own house. But I think they just needed to know that I was going to be okay. And I was going to be okay. I just had to get through it. You never think you're going to be widowed at 46 years old.
Sure.
And have to start over and never going to be able to go back. And everybody needs to have a second chance in life, and kind of think that that's what happened with me. I just kind of felt like at one point, probably about 6-7 months after he died, I just kind of felt like I gotta start over and snap out of this and start living again. And I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So was the funeral packed?
Yes.
A lot of people?
Yes. I stood on my feet for 5 hours. Never left the casket. Never went anywhere. I greeted everybody that was there. I think there was over 500 people that came through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was the viewing. The next day I had his funeral, and I got up and spoke. I did the eulogy with the help of one of my good friends from work, Joy Walker. My brain was not working at the time, but there were some things I just felt like nobody could say it but me. That's how I felt. Nobody. And I listened to his dad. I tried to make everybody happy and do what everybody wanted me to do. But it was so hard. It was just so hard. Just getting through it all. And the worst part about it was, at the viewing, that night, the state police had to get called because at the bottom of the hill, what were those people called?
Westboro Baptist Church.
Yes, sir. Were protesting at my husband's funeral.
It's devastating.
It was awful. Just awful. So, but again, I can't say enough. The state police, the police officers that took care of all that, shooed, got them away. Everything was fine. I couldn't have asked for any more. I mean, I didn't want any conflict. There'd been enough stuff. It'd been enough.
Yeah.
We didn't need any more conflict.
Yeah. And the Westboro Baptist Church is the organization that protests at various things, but basically they were stating, essentially that, God wanted the coal miners to it said the sign said, "Thank God for dead coal miners."
Yes, it was
stuff like
terrible.
that. Yeah, it's just
I will say that they were down at the site.
Yeah.
They were down there. And all I can say is I think a few of the coal miners and maybe my son might have had a few words with them. And
oh yeah. Well, the way West Virginians are, like, they did really good in holding back because they could have gotten very hurt. And the people, like, I can't imagine having that thought of like, oh, there's an explosion in West Virginia. Let's load up our signs and go and, push our hateful agenda.
And those people were just evil.
Yeah.
How can you claim to be part of a church and be that evil about people that have lost our loved ones, that have died doing their job?
Yeah. Yeah. And church to me is the exact opposite. It's like,
it's supposed
all love.
The churches wrap their arms around us. I'm going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I have not ever, and I've been packing up some stuff because I think we're going to be maybe selling our farm and stuff. And 15 years, it's time for Robbie and me and our whole family to start over. Mm-hmm. We need a fresh start. So I think that we're in that process. So
good for you.
I have totes. I went through these totes with one of my girlfriends that my best friend Tanya came over and helped me. And people sent me quilts, little angels, little notes. I have notes, all this memorabilia people had just sent me from all over the United States when this happened. So that I've saved everything. And I looked at that and I thought, see, there are good people that really care about bad things that happen because they just would, so I can't even tell you how many things I got from people just sending their condolences, telling me how much they're praying for me and telling me that, you'll get through it, sending me a quilt, cards. I mean, it just went on and on and on. I have 3 totes from stuff like that.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always rally when it comes to things like this.
And people were so kind. You have these one group, you have certain groups, you have certain people that always find drama and negativity. And this was probably the most negative thing that could have happened. But at the end of the day, we're still human. We still have to be here and we still have to carry on for our family.
Yeah.
And I still had to carry on and try to be that strength to get everybody else through it too.
Yeah.
And it's just been tough. We've all had our demons and we've all had our issues. But I think it's finally, with me and my son and our family, we've just decided that it's time for a fresh start. So
sure.
He's going to go to Irish Mountain and I'm not sure what I'm doing yet.
Well, keep me posted. I'm excited to see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, with things like this, so many people involved. I mean, 29 people are gone.
Yes.
And then the ripple effects of that across all these small communities, you got to allow the grace for people to cope and to grieve however they see fit. And everyone does that differently. And I can only imagine what that must be like. But you are, you're as bright and shiny as ever, just a bubbly personality. And I appreciate you being here. So
JD.
Unfortunately, though, you had to endure the trial after that.
Oh, yes.
So what started happening, you bury Rick, you're starting to figure out how to move on. What started happening on that side of things?
I went to a lot of the meetings. I went to the MSHA meetings. I went to the other meetings. I went to this meeting. I just wanted to get some answers and stuff. You don't know. I mean, it was just like, what's the point of me going here and sitting and listening to the same thing? I'm not getting any different answers. I'm not getting nothing, And then, of course, I had to go down, and Chris Adkins and Dawn Blankenship, and they had showed me the maps and showed me everything. And at that time, they were really kind to me. Okay. I don't know. I know now why, probably because they just wanted me to be the first one to do anything. I had made my mind up that, and I talked to my son about it. And I was not, I couldn't fight. All the fight that I ever had in me, and I had a lot of fight in me, died with Rick that day. I couldn't put a price tag on how much his life was worth. I couldn't go through a trial or go through suing them. I couldn't do it. I physically, mentally, emotionally, I was done. So yes, I took the settlement, and I just wanted to put it to rest, take care of my family, and figure out what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I couldn't fight. I know so many people, I wish I would have been able to, but I couldn't. It wasn't in me.
It's your right to do. I mean, just as, it's someone's right to pursue whatever legal action they want. I mean, I can imagine, I totally understand and sympathize with that.
Yeah,
it's
because, and it took years for that to go through. And then, and then I can't even remember how many years it took before we even got to the Dawn Blankenship trial that I did go down to Charleston, and I sat through that. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to say anything. I just wanted to listen. And, I knew going into it, it wasn't going to be what true justice would have been. But,
sure.
It is what it is. And our court systems did what they could do in order to at least show good faith of trying to punish the bad stuff that did happen. But
yeah, and I did, which this, but I did there's a 4-hour podcast out there called UBB, a Coal Miner Story, that goes into so much detail about what did happen. And, it's kind of laid out in a way that you make your own judgments, and it's fact-based. Of course, it's hard to not be biased because I was a coal miner, and, workers' rights are really important to me, and there were a lot of things missed, and this shouldn't have happened.
Right.
But yeah, I think Dawn Blankenship, he ended up doing a year.
Yep. 1 year.
Yeah, he did.
It was a misdemeanor.
Yep.
And yeah, that's all.
And there was a few other people that went to jail. I don't want to. I know it's in the podcast, but I don't want to state the wrong facts. So go listen to that, and you can hear the details.
And I'm going to say this, JD, you did the best job on that podcast. Everybody that's listened to it thought it was so informative, and you just laid it out in such a way that people could understand it. Because when I was going through my stuff, this is not a lie. I found a document this thick, and it was from the reports they sent me. I kept it. Truthfully, tell me, who's going to read the documents this much, and who's going to understand everything that's in it? You open one page and you start reading. I'm like, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
What's the point? But the documentary that you did just laid it out so well. And you got to talk to me and a lot of other people about our families and what they mean to us. And I just want to thank you for doing that documentary because it was such a good representation of the truth and as we know it, not anybody else, but way we knew it and the facts that was presented to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And, thank you for trusting me to do that. I know it's a lot to open yourself up and to lay this stuff out there. And you never know what someone's intentions are. But I didn't, it was solely funded by me. I didn't raise any money off of it. It's not monetized. So, yeah, definitely anyone out there, look up UBB, A Coal Miner Story, and check it out. But I plan on having, anyone that was in that or anyone that was involved in UBB, you have an open invite to come on the show because this stuff so important to talk about because there were missteps across the board, on Massey administration side, on MSHA side, and the facts are what they are. And you always got to point the finger at people. And I think, there was a little bit of justice that was thankfully given, but should have been a lot worse. I think that a lot of people should have shared in the complicitness of it all. But, it is what it is now. But the big thing now is talking about these tragedies to hopefully prevent them in the future.
That's exactly what I
prevent
thought.
Complacency.
If we could take what we've learned and apply it positively and make sure that nobody else has to go through what my family and the other 28 families went through ever again, just to get them safer and making sure that our miners and our workers are safe and come home to their families every night, then it had to happen. I understand that. I just hate that it had to happen to all of us and our families. And it's just, but God had a different plan. And that's the way I have to look at it.
Yep. Yep. Eventually, a new love walked into your life.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. And I think it's important for people to hear because I'm sure someone out there is going through a loss. And sometimes people are indifferent and they may feel guilty or there's all kinds of emotions that come into play. But we got to live. And I know Rick wanted you to continue living.
We had made a joke. It had been a couple years before he passed away. We had made a joke. And he said, if anything ever does happen to me, because we talked about being underground a lot, because I did have my worries. I did have my fears. And he said, look, if anything ever does happen to me, he said, I'll get out. But if I don't, he said, I don't want you to go through this life by yourself because I'm not an alone kind of person. And he said, I want someone to take care of you. And I need taken care of. So, yeah. And the joke was, well, if anything happens to me, I will come back and haunt anybody that tries to take my place. It was just one of those jokes that we had amongst us.
Sure, yeah.
So that's what it was. But when you're down at your very bottom and you don't see any light and you are depressed and you're missing your family, your husband and everybody, everything you have worked for the 25 years you were together is gone. You look around and you think, what do I do now? What's the next step? And it took me a while. I mean, I know a lot of people think 7 months, 6 months, 7 months until I woke up and said, for the first 5 months, I didn't get out of my pajamas. I would walk around Walmart at 2:00 in the morning in my pajamas because I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to deal with anything. So yeah, to say I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for a while, I'm going to say that's valid. But I think it was after I went October 5th, we had the 6-month memorial down in Whitesville. My sister and my cousin and I went. And I think that was the next day or that week, I kind of was sitting at home by myself and I just had this awareness that said, Kim, it's time for you to quit drowning in your sorrows and pick yourself up and figure out what you're going to do and what you want for the rest of your life. So I met John, and he and I had a past. I knew him. I trusted him because when we were in high school, he played football and I was a cheerleader and we dated. So I knew him back from Woodrow. And it's not like some of these other people, when you meet new people, you don't know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if he's going to be a serial killer or if he's going to be a whack job or what you're going to do. And I was never savvy enough to go on these websites and put myself out there on a dating app. I mean, for the love of God, I was 46 years old. I was not wanting to do any of that stuff.
Sure.
So, we got together and he and I have been together probably for, Rick's been gone 14 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How time flies.
Yeah. April 5th will be 16 years. I just can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
So.
And that's great. You have someone who understands it,
and he's been very supportive about doing the podcast, talking about UVB. For a very long time, I wanted to go down to Whitesville when they first did the memorial, with the big memorial in Whitesville. It was beautiful. And I'd seen pictures and I wanted to go. Half of my soul did not want to go. So I didn't want to go by myself. So one weekend, John and I just decided we were going to drive down there. And it was very peaceful and it was very quiet because it was just us. And I got to see it and I got to appreciate it. And I got to figure out which one of the figurines or what are they called?
Silhouettes.
Mm-hmm. I figured which one I thought was my husband. But yeah, he's been very supportive and understanding. And this is my second chapter. This is my second half.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, Brody was the only grandchild that I had, and John didn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are the proud grandparents to 5. Brody adores John. He considers him a grandfather, and John has been so good to him. John got him a car for his 16th birthday, bought him a little 2002 Chevy Tracker.
Oh, nice.
So cute. So John did that, and we, Brody has really grown to love him, and we all have. And Robbie and my son Robbie and John worked up on the farm this weekend. We do things together. We take family vacations. He's got 2 kids, John Michael and Megan, which I absolutely love them. So we don't have just our kid, his kids, my kids. They're our kids now. We've blended them. And I mean, of course, family dynamics, all things come into play.
Sure.
But Brody was the first one. Now we have McKinley. She is 7. Oakley is 3, which is Brody's sister. McKinley is Megan's daughter. We have Macy Grace which is 15 months old now, 14 or 15 months old now. And Maverick was just born 2 months ago. And those 3 are Megan's. We have McKinley, Macy, and Maverick.
Mm.
And then I have Brody and Oakley, and they love each other. I mean, McKinley loves Brody. Loves him. And he loves her. And they're so good.
Full house for Thanksgiving.
And Christmas and everything else. That's one of the things I really love to do. Now, Thanksgiving's usually hard because they live up in Martinsburg. And then John Michael got married in November last year, and we love his new wife, Andrea. And they live up in Reston. I think it's up in Virginia somewhere, up
cool.
close to DC.
Mm-hmm.
So, Christmas is a big thing. We try to have it really early. Like last year, John Michael, Andrea, Megan, Macy, McKinley, Mark is her husband, Megan's husband, Mark. Then Robbie, Jesse, Brody, Oakley, me and John. We have a full house. And we usually do it before Christmas because everybody's so busy and crazy. I want to spend the whole weekend with them. So when I get to have 4 of them, like last year I had 4 of them. We didn't know she was pregnant at the time, but she was. Now we're this coming year, we're going to have 5.
Nice.
I love having these grandbabies. And that's what makes this second chapter of my life so much blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Because these kids have just made me realize all the bad that I had to go through brought me here. And now I have these 5 beautiful grandkids that I love more than anything in this world, all 5 of them. And it just makes it all. I'm going to be 62, if that tells you that, yeah, being a grandma and a nana, I'm the nana, is the best ever. So
yeah,
I appreciate them all. I love them all. And I'm so thankful that my life has moved into this chapter, because I could have probably sat and been the widow up on the mountain for the rest of my life and been miserable. But that's not what Rick would have wanted for me. And that's not what I wanted for myself. And, I lost my dad 5 years ago, but my dad was a big component of me picking up my bootstraps, get your stuff together, get your life together, figure out what you're going to do, and move forward. I mean, he kicked me in the butt in 2010 when Rick died. I mean, he just had to make me move, as heartbroken as he was, because he was the only son that, he never had, he never had any boys. But, yeah, I just have to do that. I have to pick myself up and move forward. And I'm thankful for the path that I've got to go on.
Well, I'm thankful you are walking that path as well. And you need to load them all up and go to the mountain coasters. I'm telling you.
Yes, I saw your podcast on that. Except I'm scared, but kids would love it. I'm sure they'd all love it.
Yeah, it's a good time. A lot of fun. Well, thanks, Kim, for doing this.
Oh, JD, thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
And yeah, anytime anybody wants to talk about anything, I'm open.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, definitely check out UBB, A Coal Miner's Story. It's on all the podcast outlets.
Please watch it, or please listen to it. My grandson loves it. And everybody that listened to it, you come away with knowing some real interesting facts. And we appreciate you doing it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everybody out there, be sure to like this video. If you haven't, subscribe to Creepalachia on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, take a minute and leave a review. That'll really help the show be found. And we are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And all that being said, rest in peace to the 29. And my thoughts and prayers are definitely with the families and friends of all those we lost from these communities. It's just a tragedy all around, but it's hopeful to see people like you, Kim, that are still living and still bringing good to the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And everyone else, always remember, above all else, long live Appalachia.